on the fun-to-drive Corolla. Stand out and get 2.99% on a new RAV4. Or go bold and get 2.99% on the tough Tundra. Celebrate summer with a great deal from Panama City Toyota.
Offer expires June 3rd. Visit PanamaCityToyota.com.
Hey there, business owners. Do you feel lost in a sea of numbers, struggling to navigate your day-to-day accounting? At Lighthouse CPAs, they specialize in guiding businesses to make more money and keep more of what you make. From bookkeeping to tax planning, they've got you covered. Plus, with their user-friendly software, managing your finances has never been easier. Spend less time on paperwork and more time growing your business. Call Lighthouse CPAs 850-785-5254.
Your safety and proper care of your boat in an emergency is crucial. When it comes to on-water assistance, response time is everything. And since 1996, in the Bay or on the Gulf, it's SeaTow. SeaTow's Coast Guard licensed captains are on the scene in an average of 1 hour or less. SeaTow gets members home or back to boating faster. Become a member today at SeaTow.com or call 850-234-2323.
Now, it's time for your Atlanta Braves morning update. Presented by Tidal Wave Auto Spa. Get clean car happy at any of the 250-plus Tidal Wave Auto Spa locations today.
Braves back in action for a quick 2-game homestand against the Red Sox. I'm Kevin McAlpin, and your Braves Radio Network morning updates coming up next.
Tickets for the Braves 2024 season are going fast. This season is jam-packed with great matchups. Get your tickets at braves.com/tickets.
Fresh off a night off on Monday and a very disappointing West Coast road trip through Seattle and Los Angeles, the Braves now turn their attention to some more interleague play as the Red Sox come to town for a quick little 2-game series starting tonight. Sunday afternoon, it was Shohei Ohtani delivering the biggest blows of the ball game, a 2-run homer in the first and a solo in the 8th as Los Angeles got past Atlanta 5-1 as the Braves came home just 1-5 off of their West Coast swing. Tonight, it will be the Braves and the Red Sox from Truist Park, as it will be Reynaldo Lopez on the mound for the Braves. Lopez 2-1 with a 1.50 ERA on the season. Handed his first loss in a Brave uniform against Seattle on the most recent trip as he was charged with 3 runs over 5 innings. Meanwhile, it'll be the 28-year-old righty Cutter Crawford. Crawford's 2-1 with a 1.56. He picked up a victory against San Francisco in his last go-round. 2 runs on 4 hits over 7 innings worth of work. Hear the call of the Braves and the Red Sox live from Truist Park later on this evening right here on the Braves Radio Network. Ford Leadoff Show coverage starts at 6:05 Eastern with the first pitch to follow at 7:20.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
And that's out of the ballpark.
ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Welcome to the house. It's time for the Afternoon Underdogs.
It's happening.
Wow.
It's on right now.
Opinionated and unfiltered. The hot takes, the rants, and the sports talk you crave.
Give it to me.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
On Northwest Florida, you are now riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs, tuned into ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 right here in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick. We do make up the Afternoon Underdogs. Hopefully you guys are having a great Tuesday afternoon. A little warm out there this afternoon, but how's the traffic when you were headed over here, Tyler?
It's starting to get there.
Starting to get there. We're not even to Memorial Day yet, and it's starting to get there, but it can't be nowhere as bad as what it was this weekend.
Oh, no, it was rough this weekend with the air show. They had
air show,
bike week.
Yep, bike week.
Softball and baseball tournaments going on, so.
Man, it was jam-packed out there. I made it a point not to venture out that way, especially when I started seeing all of the Facebook posts, with what everyone was doing out there on the beach. Yeah, I'm staying away from that. Caveman Rick had a we had a funny conversation about when you see something come across about crazy things happening at Bike Week, specifically motorcycle accidents. Those things are going to happen when you have that many motorcycles in one area.
Like I posted, it's a news story if, say, nothing happens to anybody.
Yeah.
Nobody, fortunately dies, no accidents. I think that makes a great news story. But just posting something out there, it's almost just like, an announcement.
But they did announce that I think there were 8 serious accidents, 3 fatalities along with that. So I don't know what the previous numbers are for Bike Week, but man, it's one of those things where you look at what goes on with spring break and the negative imagery that goes along with that for good reason, right? There is some bad things that happen around spring break, but then you look at Bike Week and it's all praise all the time. And I'm not throwing shade at all because, hey, they bring a lot of money into our area here, and it's a great thing and people enjoy it. But on the flip side, anytime that you're creating an event that has a lot of alcohol around it, some things are going to go awry sometimes.
But like Tim made a good point. A lot of those spring breakers, though, they use Ubers and whatnot, even though they're out having a good time. This last week is predicated on riding a motorcycle mostly, you know, which is it's a bad mix, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully everyone had a great time this weekend out there at the air show and at Bike Week. Did you guys see any cool planes or anything from the air show?
I didn't watch it, but I was a military brat, lived on an Air Force base, so basically air show every day. But when they did have air shows, you got to see all those planes fly into the base that you lived in like the week before and practicing, so don't really need to go. You kind of see it yourself, unless you want to get up close.
I've been to one air show over there at the Air Force Base, probably 10 years ago or so. I mean, it's cool. If I had kids, I'd take them to the air show, but I don't think I'll ever be going to another one again. But I do appreciate what the Thunderbirds do. When I went to the flyover at Daytona for the race, that was one of the coolest things. That was the first time I've ever been to an event that had a flyover. And it was really cool.
I kind of like it as like a fireworks show.
There you go.
They're really cool and they're fun to watch, but once you've seen one, you've kind of seen it. You know what I'm saying? There's not a ton of variety a lot of times, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but it's one of those, like, if you've seen an air show or two, kind of Rick's point, like he saw them growing up, like seeing it up, like a fireworks show. You can see a really cool fireworks show, but how cool can fireworks really be to a certain point?
And then
unless you're the one shooting them off, they're cool every single time.
That's more of an adrenaline thing.
No doubt. But and I don't want to poo-poo the air show, but
but
it's that kind of a day. Do what you got to do, Rick.
Waste of resources in a way, like the fuel and everything. And plus, I mean, there is chance of something going wrong. I mean, you are doing all these stunts and accidents can happen. So, yeah, I mean, it's fortunate that, nothing happened. People have a good time. They get to see that, all the excitement, get to see what our military can do out there too, I mean, that's just playing around. That's not them going out there and really trying to take somebody out. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, well, the people enjoy it. And to your firework point, growing up, living over there off of Beach Drive, we would go every single year to those fireworks. I imagine that if an air show was like my routine as a kid, maybe that would be something that I would like to do more, like annually or whatever. But I don't know. Never really played airplane games. I've only flown a few times. It's just never been that intriguing to me. But I'm glad that there are people out there who want to go out there and watch that. Show off our freedom a little bit.
Sounds like they had a great turnout.
Yeah.
From everybody I know that went, it was a great time, great show. I know one of the local radio stations was kind of doing like a play-by-play. So
nice.
So they'd be like, okay, if you look to the west, you're going to see this plane incoming. They're going to be doing this.
That's cool.
That part would have been really neat to see. Just kind of like almost see the live broadcast of it, and having it explained to you as it's going on would have probably been pretty neat to experience.
And the fact that you could do it on the beach, the places I lived, you're basically only by the runway of the Air Force Base where the planes are taking off and landing. But, you could be miles away and still see stuff.
Ryan says, bro, I cannot compare fireworks to billion-dollar jets. Just me, maybe. Hey, but the comparison has been made, and I think
it's more the idea. It's obviously they're not the same, but like I said, it's just I'm not big about fireworks on 4th of July either, because I feel like once you've seen a handful of fireworks show, you've seen fireworks.
I'm with you on that. I've been to more fireworks shows than I have been to air shows. I would say that I enjoyed the air show thing's like an all day thing, isn't it? And when I went, I was there. Long enough to get sunburnt.
Yeah.
So. And I think we got there a little early because it was very easy to get in, but it was a lot harder to get out at that point. But this is ESPN Northwest Florida, your home for the Atlanta Braves. They're hosting the Red Sox tonight. Cutter Crawford versus Reynaldo Lopez. Coverage starts at 6 o'clock for a 6:20 first pitch. We also have some NHL and NBA playoffs going on this evening. But Caveman Rick, how you feeling about your Philadelphia Phillies right now? They did lose Trey Turner, but they are on top in the NL East right now.
Yeah, they're hot right now. They're rolling. And Trey Turner, he's still going to be gone about 6 weeks, I think is what they were saying maybe. So that's not too bad. Give him a little break, a little rest. Some other guys maybe step up. Alec Boehm has been on fire. And, honestly, the last couple of years, he's been kind of like the weak link, I think, as far as the team goes, not only in the batter's box, but, on third base in the infield as well. So him stepping up and him, I think he's in like top 10 in batting categories, like 8 or 9 of them right now. So yeah, looking pretty good, man. I'm pretty excited. Just got to keep it rolling though.
There you go. I hope differently than you. I hope you guys slow it down a little bit and the Atlanta Braves keep it rolling, but we'll see, man. Braves getting swept by the Dodgers it's hard to say that it's, not a good sign because the Dodgers are so good and they're getting rolling. And you've got Bueller came back yesterday, so they're getting better. Shohei Ohtani, maybe the league needs to mandate that Ohtani has to be a two-way player. Like, even if you're injured, bro, pitch with your left hand because you are too good when you're focusing on just your at-bats. Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers tonight. It's game 2. The Rangers hold a 1-0 lead in that series. That'll be at 6 o'clock tonight. Then you've got the Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. Game 1 tonight in 8:30. Caveman Rick, out of these two series, which game are you more intrigued by this evening?
This evening, I want to see how Carolina bounces back after the upsetting game they had against the New York Rangers. New York Rangers, they're pretty hot right now. I think they're going to have some problems. They got the better goaltender in Shesterkin. Anderson, I mean, he's a solid goaltender, but nowhere on the level that Igor Shesterkin is. So if that guy stays hot, it's probably going to be kind of hard for Carolina. So I want to see if they can, bounce back good and maybe win this series.
Well, Max Delyden joins us in the building, and he came in crying because Tyler is comparing the fireworks.
Yeah, to fireworks.
Yeah, there you go.
No,
what's going on, Max?
Not much. Just put in my moisturizing eye drops.
Is that a Jack Nicklaus shirt?
No, Grateful Dead.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so you could tell I'm not a
We're
deadhead.
going to do a weekly line on what time Max shows up. How long after the start of the show? Over under 7.5 minutes.
Hey,
that's a great line.
7 minutes ain't too bad, though, right?
The air show is sick, in my opinion.
You were there?
Yeah.
Nice.
I went to the beach just because it's right down the road from
Kill two birds with one stone. I love that.
Yeah, with my family. A cousin was in town because he had a bachelor party, and Vicky, and I thought it was cool. I mean, I've seen it in Chicago, too, with like the Blue Angels.
Which one was better? You're here now. Remember that.
Probably this one because you're like sitting on the beach and just like it was in the shade. It was so nice. Like
in the shade on the beach, like you had an umbrella or something.
One of those, like tents where you put the sand in the corners and it stays up.
Yeah,
and it was nice. I thought it was cool. I don't know. Those people are just such adrenaline junkies who are able to do that in free fall like that. Oh my gosh, I would be the person who like passes out. You know, like those people on the roller coaster videos where they pass out.
Yeah.
And then they wake up and they're still on the roller coaster. They pass back out again.
Oh, man. I've never passed out on a roller coaster. But, and it's funny, though, because I'm kind of scared of heights for the most part. Like, if I'm up on a tall building, I'm not getting up to the ledge. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I'm 100% the same way. Like.
Backing up, I feel like stuff's just going to start flying out of my pockets and whatnot. So I just stay away from that. But I love roller coasters.
I don't really like roller coasters. I don't like that dropping feeling. But I also don't like heights.
I hate it, but I love it.
Now, it's funny, actually, when my brother and I, we went up to Knoxville up in Neyland Stadium, and we had upper deck seats. I was in the stadium. We had already gotten in the stadium, scanned our tickets. I found new tickets on StubHub, bought new tickets while I was in the stadium because I was like, I can't sit here for the next 3.5 hours. I mean, could you feel like you were looking straight down?
You do end up getting acclimated to that. Because I'll say this. I've been at the top of Bryant-Denny, which isn't bad at all.
Yeah.
But I can't speak for the rest of the NHL, but at Amalie Arena, when you get up to the top there, I've sat at the top of the top of the top that you can sit without sitting on top of the dome, all right? When you're sitting up there, it feels like you are walking up at an incline.
Oh, yeah.
And but after about, 7-10 minutes of gameplay, then it's good. And back in those days, I was drinking a little bit more, so it was that helped a little bit. Yeah.
I sat there for like 10 minutes. I was like, I can't sit here. Like not for a 4-hour football game at that point, but it was.
Whoa, you afraid of heights? We're
little bit.
We're just conversating about everything but sports.
Some crazy places. Like I've been up in the St. Louis Arch, and if you go up there, it can kind of like sway a little bit, just move, and it kind of like kind of gives you that little uneasy feeling. But yeah, it's kind of cool to do something. Actually, when you go up in that thing too, you get in this little pod that's kind of like egg shaped, and like 5 people sit in there, and kind of like on a roller coaster, like what do you call it, like a Ferris wheel? How it kind of goes up and kind of ticks back and forth, as you're kind of moving up.
Like almost like a swinging ship type deal.
Kind of, sort of, like a pendulum, because it's on an arch. So as it's going up, it's also kind of going up at an angle. So while it's doing that, you're kind of swinging a little bit too.
Ryan Warren says he couldn't agree with Max anymore. Had his tent set up too with water. He says water is warming up. Best time of the year besides football season. I'm right there with you guys. I love this. I love the heat and everything. I like being out there. But I love I love winter too, especially here because it's not like a real winter, you know. Get a couple of cold snaps, wear some hoodies for a month or two, and then after that, it is on and it is popping. But you do got to stay hydrated out there, so make sure you get you some water. We've got the NBA playoffs going on tonight, couple of game ones. We've got Cleveland and Boston going out at 6 p.m. They will tip off game one, and then Dallas and OKC. It's game one tonight, isn't it, for Dallas? Yeah, I don't know why I have game two over here. Maybe a typo, maybe just an idiotic error, but they're going to be tipping off tonight at 8:30. Who do you like out of Cleveland and Boston? We'll start with you, Max. Do you think Boston?
But that series sucks, man.
Do you think Boston will sweep this series?
No, I think they'll win in 5. I think
Win
Cleveland
gentleman
will get
sweep?
like one. Yeah, gentleman sweep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about Dallas OKC? This has got to be a little bit better. Is Dallas going to give OKC more trouble than what they're ready for, or is
more than the Pelicans?
Yeah.
I could see it going 6, but like a stress-free 6 kind of.
There you go.
The Kawhi-less Clippers had their way with Dallas a little bit, and Luka and Kyrie are kind of forced to play defense here, playing against OKC. They play some of the best team basketball. I actually like them as a bet tonight as well.
There you go.
3.5 in most places.
Man, Ryan had the host of the Inside Drive, Ryan Mulvey, had a nice little parlay going, and it was knocked away by the referees and the Pacers. Well, he had like a parlay, so he hit multiple, but then
what do you have? Something.
He had who was the underdog last night at the Nuggets? So he had the Timberwolves. He had one of the hockey games that was the underdog as well, and then he had the Pacers, and that knocked him off.
Well, he can take that up with Tyrese Halliburton.
Give us a parlay of the night. Work on it for a second. I'm going to go over the local.
Something up for you.
There you go. Craft it up right now. Just like a good old craft beer for us right here on the air. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can like and share the Facebook feed and page. Follow us over there on X and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can download the app and register 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Tonight in softball, Mariana travels to North Bay Haven. That game starts tonight at 7 p.m. And of course, the printer would print it to where I can't see what the other game is, so I'll have to go to Max Prep and check that out in a second. But for baseball, we've got Cottondale 18-8. They are hosting Port St. Joe, who's 19-6. That game starts tonight at 6:30, and the winner of that game will play the winner of Chipley and Bozeman. Chipley is 16-9, Bozeman 24-3. First pitch tonight at 7 p.m. And then you've got Paxton. They are 11-9. They're going to be playing 21-3, the number 1 overall seed here. Central at 7 p.m. Jay 15-10. Holmes County 16-9. And that game will start tonight at 7 p.m. And again, they play the winner of Central and Paxton. So good luck to all of our high school athletes around here. They've been, just like Ryan waits for this season right here. These guys have been waiting for this moment right here. And Buffalo Rock now hiring business development coordinator for local food service. It offers competitive pay, excellent benefits, and generous time off. You can find a career that rocks. Apply today at buffalorock.com/careers under Panama City. All right, you got that parlay ready? Because it took you long enough. What are we going with? What are we going with?
Can do something, a soft parlay. Celtics money line. And OKC 3.5 plus 116, easy.
Okay.
It's basically just you're taking OKC 3.5.
But what if Boston just drops the ball tonight? Then you got everyone.
They could drop a couple balls and they'd still probably win.
And so they're that much more talented.
Yeah, I don't know. It's cool. Like you want to kind of hype it up because it went 7 for Cavs Magic, but like. In terms of quality of basketball, that series kind of stunk.
And Magic was a team that kind of relied on the turnover, them creating turnovers to be able to stay in ball games at that point.
They totally choked in the second half.
I didn't watch it. I did not watch anything.
It was like 33-15 in the third quarter.
Really?
In favor of the Cavs, and then just fell off.
It's tough to hold on to those leads sometimes, but that's the most important time of the year to be holding on to it. How about Wemby getting the Rookie of the Year by unanimous vote? Did you think Chet Holmgren was going to give him any run for his money as far as taking a first-place vote or two away?
No, but he would have probably won it most years. He was awesome, too. Just
Chet
Wemby.
or Wemby?
Chet.
Gotcha.
Wemby every year.
Every single year. Twice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was incredible, even on the defensive end, too. So I'm happy for him, and it's good for the league that he's that good.
Barrett says, what up to the three gentlemen and Max? Do we have any shade or facts to throw Barrett's way today?
Barrett.
We'll wait on that for your minute with Max coming up next. Tyler Boyd signing with the Titans. That deal could be worth up to $4.5 million. He's a slot guy. We'll see. I mean, Treylon Burks really hasn't worked out to this point yet. I think that you want to have a few opportunistic guys there, and Tyler Boyd has been where with the Cincinnati Bengals. Where does Brian Callahan come from? The Cincinnati Bengals. So, and they were between two wide receivers at that point, Zay Jones from the Jaguars and Tyler Boyd from the Bengals. Tyler Boyd played a lot more snaps from the slot position than what Zay Jones did. So I think that this is a good signing for the Titans right ahead of camp, and we'll see, does this push Treylon Burks into the direction he needs to go? What do you say, Tyler?
No, it's a good signing for the Titans. Obviously, like you mentioned, he knows Callahan, knows his system. They've worked together for a few years. So if he's comfortable bringing him on, you got to feel pretty good about that. It gives Levis another veteran guy. You know, you've got Ridley now, you've got Hopkins, and you've got you've got some guys who've played a lot of ball, helping Will Levis hopefully grow, especially now in the post Derrick Henry era, right? You know, Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears back there. So you may see a little bit less traditional running styles from them.
More like a run and gun?
Yeah, more utilizing
or
maybe
gun
like
and run
passes, as like extended handoffs and things like that. And a lot less of that downhill, Derrick Henry up your throat 30, down your throat 30 times a game. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Titans look like going into this year, and just how that offense evolves with the new leadership there.
There you have it. Barrett wants to know, and we're not going to find out right now because we will save that until 5 p.m. But he says, now that the draft is over, what rookie should be the first pick in fantasy draft? So we'll talk about that later on at 5 p.m. And then also, you had something for a topic. We're getting into that slow time right now. So, you got to generate some content. What's that?
Slow time for some people.
Slow time for
in the midst of great
sports.
Premier League ending, Champions League.
Yeah.
Hockey playoffs.
Well, okay, we're getting. We are entering into the slower portion of the season for sports radio here in Panama City, Florida. And Tyler was coming up with some ideas for the listeners to for us to engage the listeners a little bit more. And what was that? What do you have in mind for our listeners?
Just if anybody's got a specific team, player, they would like to hear us talk more about, when it comes to football. Obviously, Max here, baseball, basketball, that kind of good stuff. Love to get some input. Gives David less to do putting together a show sheet.
Amen, brother.
Love to hear somebody call in, shoot us a text, comment on the Facebook stream, anything like that. We'd love to take calls. I'll pretend like I know what I'm talking about for a few minutes about any team. Oregon, UCLA, USC, Arizona, BYU. We'll fake it till we make it.
Hey, we can Google with the best of them, baby. 850-215-6290 is the number to call or text, and that phone line is always open. Coming up next, it's going to be your Minute with Max right here on ESPN Northwest Florida with the Afternoon Underdogs. We'll be right back.
Your attention, please. ESPN Northwest Florida reminds you it's the law. It's the law. When there's a double red flag, stay out of the water, stick your toes in the sand, grab a cold drink, and listen to live sports.
Swung on, miss, strike three.
At 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Double play!
This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Tuesday. The rest of the day, mostly sunshine and 82 with a moderate breeze out of the south at 13 miles per hour. Tonight, a variety of slight fog and partly cloudy skies with lows around 74. Tomorrow, slightly foggy in the morning and then some sun and a temperature near 83. Moving into Thursday, about the same with a high of 84 and some clouds. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hello, this is Rick Wasser with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer, located at 2241 East Baldwin Road. Shopping for a garage, portable building, cabin? We build them anywhere from 8 to 16 foot wide, 10 feet to 60 feet long. We can do insulation, electricity, transom dormers, thermal windows. Come, let's customize a building together. Rick Vossen, Stormore Portable Building Dealer, Panama City.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going to be celebrating our 7-year anniversary on June 26th. But our listeners are the real MVP. You made us the #1 destination for live and local sports talk, high school, college football, the NFL, and the Atlanta Braves. Thank you for helping us reach this milestone. We're giving away more tickets to the Atlanta Braves this season than ever before. Keep listening for details from ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got a comment from Kyle. He says, Tyler, how do you feel about the Chiefs signing offensive lineman?
It's a joke. Don't.
Okay, well, if it gets put on there, and I don't know that it's a joke, especially from someone I've never seen comment before, then I'm going with it. All right, well, we'll revisit that joke at 5 p.m. then at that point. Right State Chris, though, for Max, since this is your Minute with Max, a lad from Allegiant Lending. Tell the people what it is you do, how they can get in contact with you, and how you can help them.
Thanks, Dave. Mortgage lending over at Allegiant Lending Firm, 850-565-1160, condos, single family home, you name it.
What's your favorite to deal with? Be honest.
Well, probably condos, even though they're difficult, just because it's a good little puzzle. Everything's a different puzzle. It's not very cut and dry.
Yeah, cut and dry.
Yeah.
You should have just said the people, and you would have been able to had a broad answer right there.
People?
Yeah, the people that you deal with. That's your favorite part about your job.
Oh, I thought you were asking what type of property. No, I like talking to people.
Whoa, you're putting me in a tight window here. Right State Chris wants to know, does Max have a thought on the possibility of an all-German Champions League? And does he have a team that he roots for in the Euros this summer?
That's a really good question. The German teams always show up, at least the top teams in the German league. The
Bundesliga?
Not there, and the Bundesliga.
Bundesliga? Yeah. I know something.
Yeah, you do. I know you. You played FIFA.
I played FIFA. There you go.
Well, so every country has their own in-country tournament, and so Germany already has that. So it kind of already exists. Like England has the English Championship, EFL Cup, all these other things. Germany does that too.
So for America, it's the MLS season.
There's not really
because theirs is like the CONCACAF or whatever.
And they do that little tournament now where they try to mirror Europe, where they play against Mexican teams too and stuff. The tournament where when Messi came, him and Inter Miami won.
Gotcha.
It's just obviously different caliber, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm sure Messi wasn't used to that, but has gotten used to it as he's been a part of the MLS now for a year now, right?
Yeah, just about. But it's a good question. I mean, they do their own within Germany, internal thing, through leagues 1 through 3 in Germany. But I mean, at the end of the day, most of the times it has been the German league or Spanish league. I mean, we've had a few, Chelsea's won, Liverpool, City got one, have all won in the EPL. But typically it's the Real Madrids, Atleticos, Dortmund, Bayern, PSG, who lost both ways to Dortmund. But I like the Champions League just because it brings all the countries together. But I'd root for Spain in the Euros just because I lived there for about 7 months. So I consider them my second favorite.
I know who Caveman Rick roots for when it comes to the Euros.
Portugal, right?
Yeah.
Portugal.
Yeah, absolutely. Is Ronaldo still playing? I just haven't heard much about him since he's went to the Arabian League.
I don't think he's doing a whole lot. Just over there getting paid, for probably waving and kissing babies and photo opportunities.
Do you think that his career would have been better off, as far as trajectory goes, doing what Messi did, or at the end of the day, does it even matter to him because he's already got the fame, he's already got all of that, and then he got more money than Messi did, right? Or was it even?
Kind of, yeah.
I think over his career, he's got more money. He's more marketable, I think, than Messi. throughout like the rest of the world. You know, it's got a higher Q rating, I would say, probably, maybe, I don't know. He's been around for quite a while, but I think it's just attitude. You know, like Messi's like really like, you know, gracious towards the end of his career. Ronaldo's kind of like, you know, I'm still like really good. I still want to play a lot. I still want to get a lot of attention, and so I think it maybe rubs people the wrong way a little bit.
$125 million more for Ronaldo.
Yeah, it's that oil money.
Well, that's just
oil money. Yeah, straight up.
That's just getting paid, though, right? That's not endorsement money, too, correct? Because remember, like,
I'd have to like really dive into this article.
When he set the bottle of Coke off to the side and says he drinks agua instead, and then Coke's like, you know, stock share dropped like $1 billion in like 2 seconds just because he pushed the bottle off to the side and said he'd rather drink water.
This is from their team's off-field income and sponsorship deals. So,
like, who can move the needle like that? You know what I'm saying?
Obviously, Cristiano Ronaldo did. And to do it against Coke like that, what a shame. But we are a Buffalo Rock Pepsi product carrying a radio station around this way. And if you'd like to win a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock, we'll have that opportunity for you coming up at 4:40, playing a little trivia. How about that Kentucky Derby? Did you watch that?
I did.
Did you have any money on it?
I did not.
I re-downloaded the Twin Spires app, got my like little list set up, and just never added any funds. Yep. Yeah, but it was a great race. I've never seen a horse race, me personally, a Kentucky Derby finish in a photo finish like that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then you had a crazy race over there in NASCAR. So racing was really good this weekend. All right, Central Divisions. Whoa. Shohei Ohtani, we'll start there. That's one of the topics you wanted to make sure that we touched on. So what about the season that Shohei Ohtani is having here in 24?
Obviously, you know, a lot of people still want him to be investigated, and with all the stuff going on.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But his current full season pace right now, I saw this on Twitter today, 370 batting average, 434 OBP, 136 runs, 61 doubles, 48 homers, 118 ribby, 40 steals, and 451 total bases. And 400 total bases hasn't happened since 2001, which is like Bonds. So basically steroids. So,
so basically steroids.
So it's pretty incredible, like all things considered. That being said, you know, obviously there's probably going to be a cloud following him all season because of what happened, and probably dodging a bullet there.
Yes, he is dodging a bullet because that investigation is not ongoing anymore, is it? From Major League Baseball. Yeah, it's like, all right, you're a victim here of a crime, and so we're moving on. And that even with that rain cloud, he's been playing some really good baseball. I mean, I've been loving it on fantasy baseball, and you know, at the end of the season, exactly, I'm gonna be $5 richer. That wallet's gonna get a little bit thicker there.
Yeah, pay you now. Offer me a buyout.
No, but I will offer you. We can raise the amount of the bet if you'd like to. Raise the wager. Help a brother out, man. Dodgers 8-2 in their last 10. Just swept the Braves over the weekend, and now Walker Buehler is back last night. What could the Dodgers run into that could end up being their downfall?
I mean, only if Ohtani got suspended.
That's not going to happen.
SoCal earthquake.
Just injury.
Wait, hold on. What'd you say, Rick?
SoCal earthquake. I'm just being facetious and joking, but I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that could.
Godzilla. Just a little.
That would be number one on my list, I think. Godzilla.
Yeah. Actual answer, their pitching depth, just because they have a lot of fragile arms. Their bullpen is a little shakier than it normally has been.
Mm-hmm.
So in a best of 7, anything's possible, and that's their biggest knock, I'd say.
That's what I would say is the bullpen, especially they just lost Evan Phillips. I forget what injury he has to land there.
But now it's like Daniel Hudson, Blake Trennan, and Alex Vesia.
So they don't have the best bullpen, but I mean, when you've got offense like that, your starters are going longer than what they're kind of expected or estimated to go. The bullpen can be a liability during the regular season for a portion. I mean, we saw the Philadelphia Phillies last year. Their bullpen wasn't that great, but what'd they do? They took down the Atlanta Braves, and all of the home runs that they smashed during the regular season when it came time to the playoffs. And what's your thoughts on the Padres acquiring Luis Ariz?
It's another good bat to add to their lineup. AJ Preller is probably the most unique GM in baseball. You never know when he's going to pounce.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really see guys who can hit like that. I mean, and he really is just like a raw hitter, puts the ball in play. get traded this early in the season. It's like some people in my Cubs chat were like, "Oh, we need to trade for a closer now." It's like, what? No one's shopping a closer in mid-April, early May.
Maybe the Astros could part ways with Hader.
Maybe that's a way when to do it
early, though.
when nobody's shopping for it, and be kind of sneaky and make a deal and get somebody under somebody else's nose.
If you're the only one shopping, I mean, that does make the options a little bit wider, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
And more pant sizes, more shoe sizes, you know? Like if you wear 10.5, it's harder for you to find shoe. Well,
you better go right when those things first come out.
It's kind of, if you wear 10.5, like everybody and their mom, everyone and their dad will say wears 10.5, you know? And so when you go to the store, there's going to be lots of options at 10.5, but it might not be the option that you want at that point in time. And then Trey Turner, we talked about this a little bit earlier with K-Man Rick. He's going to be out for 6 weeks. Do you think the Braves could take back control of the National League East during his absence, or are the Phillies just that good and deep?
It's going to be tough because losing Strider definitely hurt you guys. But Reynaldo Lopez has been awesome.
Yeah.
Obviously, that doesn't replace Spencer Strider, but it's a nice boost. It's tough. The Phillies look pretty good across the board, though, right now. Zach Wheeler's automatic win day. Aaron Nola has looked solid. I've said it on has. And their bullpen's been a lot better, so we'll see. I mean, and you don't have to worry about the Mets or anyone else like that, so.
Did you say this earlier about going back to soccer real quick? Because I just saw a headline here: Dortmund stunning PSG to get to the Champions League
They won
final.
at PSG and at home.
Is that how big of a deal is that? Like, explain that to me like I've never watched soccer in my life. Because essentially, I've never really watched these guys.
I mean, it's kind of comparable to like Kentucky winning
Oakland?
in basketball winning and football winning at Bama and then winning the SEC championship over Bama, which I don't even know if that could never happen, but
it could happen, especially now because we're scrapping divisions. But yeah,
like Kentucky football.
Okay,
so a 1 in 1,000 chance, basically.
Yeah, of that winning both times. Yeah,
kind of like was it Leicester City that won like a couple years ago or whatever it was, and they were like huge underdogs.
Max isn't wearing his headphones, so he can't even hear you. He said, "Is that kind of like Leicester City or what? Leicester City?
Leicester City when they won. What was it, like 4 or 5 years ago?
No, that one is like Vanderbilt winning the SEC in football.
I kind of like this little comparison game, right?
You put it in terms I understand here.
I have a funny story since it's like past the statute of limitations where this guy could get in trouble now.
Let's go.
I had a friend who placed a bet just because he followed soccer and he loved Jamie Vardy on Leicester City to win the Premier League like 2 games into the season with this guy. And it was a guy who just has his own book or whatever in college or whatever. And the guy had to offer him a buyout like mid-season, and I think he just finished paying him back like this year, like 5 or 6 years after the fact. Or I don't know, it's like 7 or 8 years.
What was the sum?
It was
give me something that is north of. I'll say 100,000. You say north or south.
What he should have owed him is like 75,000, and he I think paid him like 40. Like, dude, he just cleared out this college kid because like one, that kid's an idiot for taking that bet anyway because like. You just don't it sounds like an automatic win, but if you lose, like that's a big.
You're dead. Not dead, but you know.
He had to shut down operations, from what I was told, and set up a payment plan, which is like the opposite of how it goes. But like, man, that kid's got to have PTSD every time he sees Leicester. Like they just won the championship, so they're moving back up to the Premier League, and like that happening, like. I don't know if we'll ever see an upset like that in the Premier League ever again.
And that's what you call a bad beat, gamblers.
Yeah.
Or
that's a deadbeat.
That's a sharp pick.
Yeah, sharp pick and a deadbeat bookie right there at that point and time. Are the Central divisions surprising you back to Major League Baseball? And then maybe we'll get back to the comparison game.
The AL Central, yeah. I always thought the Tigers would be okay, but I didn't think like the Indians and Guardians would play how they are right now. But the NL Central is still kind of bad. The Cubs have been impressive for being without our ace and 2 best hitters for the past basically month. But the Cardinals, I know I kind of had lower expectations from this year when we were talking. I was like, it's always the Brewers, man. The Brewers have black magic, snake oil. I don't know what it is.
How'd y'all? What did that series between the Brewers and 2-1?
We probably should have swept them. We were up like 1-0 in the 8th and blew the game.
I watched. I believe it was the game from Friday night, or were y'all in it, or was that the early series of the week? Brewers Cubs.
No, it was Friday.
Yeah, all
we
right,
lost
so-
on Friday and then won Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, how was the whole, Craig Counsell, Brewer? Maybe it'll be different when they're playing in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think he's going to get booed a lot more. Like, I mean, the players still kind of liked him, but it seemed like you could tell, like, Craig Counsell's a little more on edge. Like, he's I mean, I'm sure he's glad he won the series, but I bet he would have liked a sweep.
I do wonder how the Brewers players felt about that because, it's like coming off of another good season and all right, what pieces can we add to the puzzle to get even better for next year? And then all of a sudden, our manager's going to our division rival.
Seeing the shinier new object.
Mm-hmm. And then how about Imanaga?
Shota.
Dude.
Stud.
He's really good, ain't he?
He's pretty fun, too.
Like leading rookie of the year, I believe, in the National League.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Because he's got a .78 ERA right now. He's on the bump tonight against the Padres. And he's pretty funny because he's pretty fiery. And I feel like you don't see that from a lot of the international players who come over. He was pretty funny, too, when he signed because he can't speak English at all. His, interview as, joining the Cubs, he's like, hey, Chicago, what you say? Cubs? Gonna win today. And
so he doesn't use an interpreter?
He does. That was all he could say in English. And then,
all right, well, at least he can gamble then.
like, if he ever tries to say something in English, they're asking about his start. He's like, very fun, very fun.
Very fun.
And he like the Blackhawks goal song. I don't know if you know the Chelsea Dagger song. If you heard that,
Hate it.
Hate it.
Yeah.
Hate that music, dude. I cannot stand it.
That video of NBC Sports going in different teams like the Flyers and other locker rooms and saying what do you think about this song and putting it in the player's ear and then cussing it out, so funny.
I have not seen that video, so you're going to need to send me a link to that.
You know that song though, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, he went to a Blackhawks game when he first moved to Chicago, and that's what he comes out to start every start because he thought the song was awesome.
Hey, but that's kind of cool in a way to connect with your city, man. So instead of City Connect uniforms, we're talking about City Connect walk-up songs.
He's in touch. It's like inverse Ichiro, because I remember when Ichiro, I think right when he was about to retire or got some award or reached 3,000 hits, Tom Brady texted him. And he was turning to one of their coaches on the Mariners. He's like, I just got a text from this number. Who the F is Tom Brady?
That's what I would have said.
Hey, speaking of that, there was not much of that last night, but they did have the roast of Tom Brady. I've been able to watch a couple of clips from it. Any of them stand out to you?
Well, I thought Dana White's intro was pretty funny, but you can't really say that on air.
Well, that was just. That was his whole. That was his whole minute, right? They only gave him a minute for coming, or did he get a longer time? And that was just a part of the bit.
A minute. He was complaining I traveled 6 hours or whatever it was just to have 60 seconds.
Yeah, Peyton Manning's was funny.
Oh, the joke about Peyton Manning, or did Peyton Manning get up there?
His whole
the
spiel
Ford,
was funny,
slow white Bronco driving down the interstate. Yeah, yeah. There's I was looking through a ton of clips, and I was going to try to pull some, record them, and then play them on. I'm like, I would bleep out more than what I have to play.
Yeah, Edelman. I liked Edelman taking a few shots at Belichick too, and saying how the only job he'd get now is at the local high school.
Foxborough High School. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when somebody spends 10 years yelling at you on the practice field, you like getting a few of those back shots.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Caveman Rick, any opportunity to watch the roast last night?
No, just highlights. I did some of the jokes, picking on Tom Brady about the Giselle stuff about Antonio Brown being at the house, and junk like that. That stuff's funny to me.
Oh, and Tom Brady, I think, was one of the ones who brought up a joke about Kim Kardashian being on edge because her kids were at the house with her father, Kanye West, or not with her father,
joke.
Kanye West, and then Kim Kardashian coming back at Tom Brady for the high cheekbones and saying that he's starting to look like her stepdad at that point in time. So, yeah, that was a lot of great stuff. What you got?
Did you see she was the only person who, when they came up, actually got booed, too?
Oh, is that... I saw her getting booed. I saw that part, but I didn't see, was it a joke that she had said or something like that?
No, she was, about to start talking, and people were starting to boo, and she's like, all right.
That's awesome.
I know, I was like, well, maybe there's some hope for society.
There we go. I mean, I think that is one of those things that is going to be talked about for the rest of the year. Right, because it's a great event. It was a fun event, and it's also something that is almost I'll say it like this, anti-woke, where it just kind of became what we've been used to when we were growing up, and the kind of comedy, and I'm not really worried about hurting your little feelings and all of that kind of stuff. And I thought that was cool, and Much needed.
Was that Robert Kraft thing scripted or no?
The one where Ross was telling him.
Yeah.
I would say that it was scripted. Me personally, so? Because the way that Tom Brady said it loud enough for the mics to kind of pick it up, and then also, if it really bothered him, he could have said you're done right here. So I don't know, because honestly, I don't feel like that.
Everything's fair game at a roast.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
man.
like if you were going to show up and do that, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt, man. And like I said, like last week, I mean, everybody wants to throw him roses and he wants to catch them all, but then like when he loses or something, he just wants to run into the tunnel and not shake somebody's hand and like congratulate him like a Nick Foles say at the end of the Super Bowl. So I mean, yeah, man, get over yourself.
He did get over himself because he was getting roasted all night last night. You should have been invited there.
I would have tore him up.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would actually pay for the unfiltered.
Yeah, man. I think I'm a pretty funny person, man.
Yeah.
I think I can come up with some real fun, and you know how vulgar I can be, dude. So
right, but
I can cut that dude down.
I think one of the biggest things about a roast is the person who is doing the roasting. If you're the people have to know where the roast is coming from.
Well, and usually the people roasting to are like their friends and close.
Yeah, exactly. Like here comes this.
Not somebody that just really doesn't like you or something. Like
Caveman Rick said there like a press conference. Caveman Rick, ESPN Northwest Florida. Get ready, y'all. 10 minutes of nothing but cussing. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Quick timeout. We'll be right back with a trivia question. So go ahead and call us 850-215-6290.
America's team plays here.
Swing and a miss. Struck him out. That's number 10.
The Atlanta Braves on ESPN Northwest Florida. Charlie Morton, Max Fried, and Chris Sale lead the Braves' dominant pitching rotation.
That's 18 up, 18 down.
Sponsored by Panama City Toyota, Ellis Agency Insurance, Bestway Portable Buildings, PCB Hobby, and ESPN Northwest Florida.
Got him swinging. Strike 3.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Tuesday. The rest of the day, mostly sunshine and 82 with a moderate breeze out of the south at 13 miles per hour. Tonight, a variety of slight fog and partly cloudy skies with lows around 74. Tomorrow, slightly foggy in the morning and then some sun and a temperature near 83. Moving into Thursday, about the same with a high of 84 and some clouds. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Golf is a game that should be fun, but to have the most fun, you need to play your best. That's where the experts at Golf Plus come in. Their friendly staff will guide you through the buying process, answer all your questions, and can help with any repairs you need along the way. Golf Plus is your custom fitting, club repair, and golf retail shop. Golf Plus staff is non-commissioned and will work with you to find the best product for your game, just like they've been doing since 1988. Golf Plus in Dothan and Panama City Beach. Fitting, repair, retail. That's Golf Plus.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards in Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Karen bought 83 liters of Dr. Thunder, a suitcase full of Cheez-Its, and a drum of Crisco. Now she's crying about using the self-check at Walmart.
Maybe we should speak to a manager or something.
Just saying. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Going to.
And we are back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. And the trivia question for today is, who holds the record for most career interceptions for the Atlanta Falcons? Who holds the record for most career interceptions for the Falcons?
Throwing the interception or intercepting?
No, intercepting, okay. Being the interceptor.
Great question, Tyler.
Would have been it for throwing.
Yeah, that is
Just wanted to clarify for the listeners back home.
Great clarification there. Prize is for a swag bag and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. Who holds the record for most career interceptions for the Atlanta Falcons? That is from a defensive player that's doing the intercepting there. I do want to go over to Max here in a second. We'll go through on this day, see if we can knock that out pretty quickly. And then I want to go through some of the Premier League teams, mainly ones that I've heard of before, and then ask Max to give us an SEC football team comparison. All right. You know, Dob, you got your grimy teams. You're not grimy necessarily, but the teams that got to grind it out. You've got your powerhouses, and then you've got your bottom feeders. And I'd like to learn a little bit more about the Premier League, just because I like learning things and for no other reason other than that. On this day in 1877, the Cincinnati Enquirer first uses the term bullpen to indicate baseball field foul territory where late-coming spectators were herded like cattle. I did not know that it was the spectators that gave name to the bullpen as we know it today, is where the relief pitchers go out there to get warmed up. And what was it, 3-4 years ago, while I was involved here with ESPN Northwest Florida, that PETA was trying to get them to rename the bullpen.
Serious?
Yes. Absolutely.
That's one of the more
serious.
absurd things I've heard them protest.
I would say that 99% of the stuff that they protest is absurd, and I'm probably way off on the numbers there, but most of the stuff that.
But I can at least understand the rationale of saying like, oh, this animal's mistreated if they're a mascot at a university because of whatever. But like, there's not actually a bull involved in the word bull. Like, anyway, we won't go down that rabbit hole.
If you're in PETA, you need to touch grass.
Oh, touch grass?
Yeah, go outside, touch grass. Like, find a hobby.
Find a hobby.
Eating tasty
animals. I'm a part of that, PETA, all day long. 19. What's your favorite animal to eat?
Oh.
Yeah, I'm being serious here. If we're gonna bring up PETA,
depends on.
I think I'm gonna go with the pig, man. Like,
really
because
big pork guy?
Bacon. That would be the one thing I'd be like, oh, bro. Like, because honestly, there's some days where I'll choose sausage over bacon, like a sausage patty with the egg yolk, But to say that I'd never be able to have bacon again, it would be
go with cow.
Cow. Just because of the steak.
Yeah, but I'm more of a seafood guy, so like for me, it'd be like
that's still an animal.
I think
there
I
you
like
go.
fish, maybe.
Your wedding was phenomenal when it came down to this. Oh my! Everything was. It wasn't just redfish. I think you guys had
mahi or something.
Yeah,
it's good spread.
I went back for seconds. It was like, you can only have one plate. I said, dude, you're not eating. I pointed to the guy on my left. I was like, you're not eating tonight, bro. I'm a special guest at this wedding. 19.
How many Tuesdays have you spent with this guy?
Yeah. Oh man, who was the guy that your friend, man? Everyone there was your friend that night.
Really,
so,
narrows it down to
no, the guy who was sitting right next to me. Austin, yes, sir. That guy was cool.
Good people.
Yeah, that was cool, man. And for a while, we were like, I was sitting with Danny, and then someone kicked me out of the chair because I didn't know that there was like assigned seats. So then I found my way over there, met Austin, and it was a good time. Chatted with a random table of Chicagoans. Actually, I don't even think those people were from Chicago, and I'm not going to try to get you to guess on who it was that was sitting at that table. And then Max is going to go through his little brain account there, and he's going to end up, all right, that was table number 12, and this is the lineup. All right, we'll go over to Ryan real quick, play a little trivia. You are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Ryan, who holds the record for most career interceptions for the Atlanta Falcons?
Is it a guy by the name of Roland Lawrence?
Mispronunciation is going to have you canceled on that. I'm just kidding. It could be Roland. It might be Rolland. I don't know, but I do know that is the correct answer. Do you know how many interceptions he did have?
39.
39 of them, yes, sir. You just won yourself a swag bag and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock, my friend. What's your favorite animal to eat?
Favorite animal?
Yeah, cow, chicken, pig, you name it. We're talking about PETA today.
Camel.
Camel? You ain't never had no camel.
I have actually had a camel burger. Yes, I have.
Really?
That being said, I'm joking by all means, but yes, I have had a camel burger, and it took a lot for me to even get up the bravery to try it. But yeah, no, I would have to go with you, David, and say probably a pig.
There it is. All right, we'll start raising some pigs, my man, and let's keep us stocked up on bacon. Hey, have a great day, Ryan. Is this Ryan Mathis?
Yes, sir, it is.
Awesome, man. Well, hope you and Brooke are having a great day, man, and have a great rest of your evening, and we'll chat with you soon.
Thanks, David.
Absolutely. 1945, Branch Rickey announces formation of the U.S. Negro Baseball League. And in 1959, Roy Campanella Night is the largest baseball crowd at 93,103 at the L.A. Coliseum to see the Yankees beat the Dodgers 6-2 in an exhibition game. In 1975, the Atlanta Braves trade holdout first baseman Dick Allen and catcher Johnny Oates to the Phillies for catcher Jim Essien, outfielder Barry Bonnell, and cash. Allen refused to report to the Braves after he was acquired in an off-season deal with the White Sox. You know how sometimes you're reading and you see like the first few letters of the word, and so your brain kind of already puts it together. I was about to say Barry Bonds right there because I just saw BON, so I'm like, oh, I don't even remember that happening.
Yeah, I would have been upset too if the Phillies traded me to the Braves.
Yeah, no doubt.
I wouldn't want to report either.
1994, the Denver Nuggets become the NBA's first number 8 seed to beat a number 1 seed when they took down the Seattle Supersonics, and we need to get that franchise back in the NBA. 2005, Julio Franco records 3 hits, including his first home run of the season in a 4-1 victory over the Astros. Franco becomes the second oldest player in Major League history to home run at 46 years, 257 days. In 2008, Joey Votto, as a rookie, becomes the 23rd Reds player in history to homer 3 times in a game. In 2009, Manny Ramirez, while he was with the Dodgers, suspended for 50 games after testing positive for a banned substance. And then in 2011, Andre Ethier's 30-game hitting streak ends in a 4-2 loss to the Mets. Ethier ends up 1 game short of the franchise record held by Willie Davis. In 2014, Nolan Arenado 3 hits and extends his hitting streak to 27 games, and that ties the Rockies' record back when they were holding good records compared to some of the records that they hold today for losing. 2016, the big man Bartolo Colon, 42 years old, becomes the oldest player to hit his first career home run, and that wasn't his only home run of his career either. I don't believe. I want to say I think Bartolo had 3 home runs in his career, and he hit his first one at 42. I'm not for sure about that, though.
That's a crazy stat.
Yeah. And I
feel
love
like that would be his only one, right?
I thought because it was like I was like a pretty big
Okay, it
deal.
is only one.
Yeah.
It is only one. So there must be another one that he's hitting later, but it wasn't Major League Baseball.
No, I think it was in like Mexico or something like that. I remember seeing that.
Okay.
Where he was like still pitching, still playing. But
now Bumgarner hit multiple home runs.
Yeah.
There's a few pitchers out there who
Carlos
hit.
Zambrano, he hit like 7 or 8.
Baumgartner, you look at the size of that guy compared to like a guy like Bartolo
Yeah,
Colon.
but with a name like Big Sexy, you got to be hitting some big sexy home runs every now and again,
Dude,
right?
that pitcher should have been immediately DFA'd.
Yeah, right. Or every once in a career for a guy like Bartolo Colon. 2022, in the 148th running of the Kentucky Derby, Venezuelan jockey Sonny Leon rides 80-1 outsider Rich Strike to victory to become the second biggest long shot to win in the history of the event. And then that will take us to the Premier League and Max. Yes.
Colon, he was a Met when that happened, right?
I believe he was a Met, yeah.
I believe so.
Because he couldn't have been an Expo at 42 years old. Right. Yeah, he was with the Mets, and that was against San Diego off of, it doesn't say who James Shields. It was James Shields. You can't DFA James Shields right at that point in his career, could you?
I don't know, but James Shields, that's the guy who was traded for Fernando Tatis Jr. Fun fact.
Well, worked
nice
out
trade.
well. Yeah,
White
nice.
Sox.
Yeah, way to go, White Sox. Helping out them San Diego Padres. All right, I'm going to name out a Premier League team, and you give me the SEC equivalent, but we're not talking soccer here. We're talking football. So let's go with one that I know here. There's 20 teams or so, and I know 5 of them. We'll go with Liverpool.
Oh, man. Well, they just won recently, but Liverpool is, I think a good comp for them is Auburn. Won, a little bit past, and then kind of just holding on to that a little bit.
Okay, I like
the game, and very passionate fan base, but there's a lot of people on the outside who probably hate them or dislike them.
Yeah, so it sounds like Auburn.
That does sound like Auburn.
And it's they're just so annoying on social media type thing. That's what I'd say.
There's no way that
Taylor,
Auburn fans are more annoying than Alabama fans.
Yeah, but you got
but there's difference in
each have their shortcomings. That's coming from an Indiana basketball fan, where it's like the most toxic place on social media.
The most? I think that's going to be next Tuesday's topic. Is the most toxic fan bases.
Indiana and Kentucky, who's a real good 1-2 punch there.
I feel like, without seeing a whole lot from the Indiana fan base on social media, is that Kentucky absolutely toxic. Like Indiana's trying to get back to the playing ability, what their team does. Yeah, it's still kind of like Auburn, just holding on to the past.
A lot of like 35 to 70-year-olds in Central Indiana who really hold on to the Bobby Knight years and really are brutal on social media.
We could see Alabama fans heading straight into that territory right now, depending on how this, this contract will say. I want to say the first season is going to give you the kind of where the bar is going to be set. Because if he goes 8-4, how do Bama fans react to that? You go 10-2.
Kalen DeBoer is a winner.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll find out about that. But if he goes 8-4, it's like you got to give him. I mean, he's not going to lose his job, but you got to give him grace anyways. First year, but you also and the whole transfer portal and how that all worked out for Alabama. But if he goes 10-2. Then all the Bama fans are like, all right, that's really good. We're in a good position and we'll get better next year. And they absolutely could. But then if the next year he goes 10-2 year one and then 8-4 year two, then Bama fans are going to be holding on to that pass, baby. And I'll be right there with them.
See, I think the biggest thing is like if he goes 8-4, but he loses to Georgia on the last second field
Tough
goal.
schedule, yeah.
Oklahoma on the last second field goal, LSU in overtime. Or I think if he loses is better than if they go 10-2, but they lose to get blown out by Georgia and blown out by like LSU. I think it could be depends on how those losses look.
That's very true. But I mean, hey, go ahead.
The guy who listens, who we did Alone with, said, "Am I that annoying?" Because he's an Auburn fan. No, that was my friend Taylor. Everything is Auburn. Like even his freezer says, what is it, Cow Power or whatever.
Cow Power?
Yeah, and this dog's name is Shug. It's a lot.
Why Cow Power for Auburn? That seems like a Mississippi
But not you,
State
Hudson.
thing.
You're a rational Auburn fan.
There we go.
I'm an irrational Hoosiers.
Hey, a rational Auburn fan. What does he think you guys' record or Auburn's record is going to be here in 2024? Give me a.
What do you think the record will be, Hudson?
There you go, and then just text
8-4.
8-4.
Immediate.
Quick response, man. He's actually listening on the radio and not on the app, and we can tell like that. There we go. Well, we appreciate you, Hudson, and as always, man.
That's a good guess.
I honestly. Could Auburn be better than 8-4? Find out when we return. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Hudson, everyone else, text 850-215-6290. We appreciate you listening. We'll be right back, and next week we'll try to get some more Premier League SEC comparisons going. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida is celebrating our 7-year anniversary on June 26th.
That'll be a curtain call right here.
You made us the #1 destination on the Panhandle for live and local sports talk, high school, college football, the NFL, and the Atlanta Braves.
Way on back it goes, that's torched.
And to thank you for helping us reach this milestone, we're giving away more tickets to the Atlanta Braves this season than ever before. Keep listening for details from ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, partly cloudy and a low of 74 with wind 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the south. Some sun tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and quite warm near 83. Mostly sunny and 83 in the afternoon and evening with a wind coming out of the south around 14 miles per hour. 84 and some clouds with a gentle breeze at 10 miles per hour Thursday. This is your Tuesday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Attention homeowners, are you dreaming of a backyard oasis? Look no further than S&R Fencing, your go-to destination for quality outdoor transformations. At S&R, they specialize in crafting custom fences, decks, retainer walls, and all exterior construction that not only enhances the beauty of your home, but also stands the test of time. Their experienced team takes pride in delivering top-notch craftsmanship with a personal touch. S&R Fencing, locally owned, licensed, and insured, and a member of the BBB.
WGSX Lynn Haven, W Field, Q Port St. John. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Your safety and proper care of your boat in an emergency is crucial. When it comes to on-water assistance, response time is everything. And since 1996, in the Bay or on the Gulf, it's Seato. Seato's Coast Guard licensed captains are on the scene in an average of 1 hour or less. Seato gets members home or back to boating faster. Become a member today at Seato.com or call 850-234-2323.
Don't call it a podcast.
Frequency modulation is a big step forward in radio.
Broadcasting live from the world's most beautiful beaches. The Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida, your home for the Atlanta Braves. For 7 years, ESPN Northwest Florida has been your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. And thanks to our loyal Braves fans for making this possible. To show our gratitude, we're sending more listeners to Atlanta to see the Bravos than ever before. So keep listening for details on how to win tickets to Truist from your home for the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves on ESPN Northwest Florida, sponsored by Panama City Toyota, Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, Ellis Agency Insurance, and Best Way Portable Buildings. We did get a little breaking news about an hour ago, so it's not right here on top of us, but from Twitter, Dove, it's Dove, ain't it? Kleiman?
Yeah.
Dove Kleiman.
So.
He has posted an hour ago that the Chiefs wide receiver, Rashee Rice, is under investigation for allegedly hitting a photographer. This does not have anything to do with the incident from, what was it, a Lamborghini or was it a Porsche that he had?
I think it was a Lamborghini and a Corvette.
Two supercars were involved.
2 supercars.
One
So
that he was driving, and I believe a friend was driving the other one.
And they left the scene of that accident, which
With
is
injuries.
Yeah, with injuries as well. I believe they were minor injuries, though, right? Or did we
People
ever?
were actually in the hospital for that, and were like kind of banged up.
I want to say it was like a mother and kid were in one of the cars that got hit. Like not driving one of the cars, but were involved in the accident. I think they ended up going to the hospital. I don't think it was super serious, but I think they did end up in the hospital.
Well,
yeah.
And if it was just like a single adult or whatever, I would make the, throw out there, well, like if I was involved in something that I had nothing, maybe my back was hurting as that started happening. But when it's a mother and her kids, you really can't
I want to say, don't 100% quote me, but I believe that's what I read.
Well, we'll take it for that, and we'll continue on with the rest of this headline. This was a club in Dallas on Monday night.
What's he doing in the club right now with all the problems that he's got?
He is working on his way to join Antonio Brown and be the co-host of CT ESPN.
That's a poor excuse. The CTE thing with AB, I don't believe it. I don't buy it.
Yeah, have you looked at his Twitter page? I'm to the point now where it's hard not to laugh because it's funny. Not what's happening to Antonio Brown, but what he's posting, the stuff is funny, right? But you can tell he's off his rocker.
I would say to Caveman and Rick's point, though, there's a good chance that he is playing a character to this point. Like, at a certain point, like, he's almost as, I'm not going to say as popular. He is more popular now than he has been since he walked off that field in New York with the Bucks, like, throwing his jersey off. But, like, now, like, his Twitter, I'm not saying, there's some of it, like, he gets legitimate news sometimes. Like, he gets actually some decent stuff. But, like, it would not surprise me to an extent if he's embellishing. I'm not going to say he doesn't have some lingering effects, but I would not be surprised at all if he was embellishing a little bit to gain the notoriety.
Or embracing it.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. I mean, okay, yes, but I think everyone who is popular on social media, outside of guys like, Adam Schefter, and guys who are popular on social media for being in the media, right? Those guys, it's a little different. But everyone else who is popular, I don't know none of these people. I'm just taking a wild stab in the dark, if you will, that a lot of these social media influencers and whatnot are over the top, embracing a persona, a character, if you will. So, there's sense to that, but also some of the stuff that he posts, there's no sense from it all. And there's times where I'm like, man, I kind of feel bad for him, but also at the same time, I guess we all make our own beds and lie.
I'm sure you can find some people out there that are posting the same or more outlandish stuff, that never played a down in football, that never had a concussion, that never got knocked in the head, and are still putting stuff like that out there.
Very fair point. I have no argument for that because I know for that to be a fact. I know for that to be 100% of a fact.
People use that excuse. Maybe it was even Steeler fans, people that were feeling sorry for him and wanted to make excuses for him, and it just like took off, man. Got wheels and just whoosh.
Or air balloons.
With frostbitten feet.
From the cryogenics or whatever. And he never ended up playing it down for the Raiders, did he?
I don't believe so.
Because
it was during the offseason, like still when he got bounced from being over there.
Well, he showed up to practice. I don't know if it was training camp, whatever it was, but he showed up in a hot air balloon one day, and then you mentioned the feet, and the list goes on and on and on, and it all starts with, at least where a lot of our assumptions come from, a hit from the Cincinnati Bengal, Vontaze Burfict. So we'll see about the future here for Antonio Brown, Rashee Rice, and CTE SPN.
He had such a great rookie year. And then, like, you just go out and do this. Like,
just like Ruggs.
There's really no excuse at all for the first or the second one here. There's no excuse for either one of them. You can use the reasoning of young, dumb, did something stupid. I want to learn from that.
But then to go
you
around
need
and do
that, like at least let's have 2 or 3 years in between or something.
Look at John Morant. Look what he did. Knucklehead too. You know what I'm saying? These guys, you get all this attention. You got people propping you up, saying, "Hey, come on, let's go out and do this. Let's do that." And you just get full of yourself, I guess, and do dumb things. Try to oppress people.
Yeah, your friends sometimes do, pump that confidence into you, and sometimes it's just not. It's not wisdom and confidence.
Or women.
Brutish and confidence at that point. Or, what runs the world. All right, Tyler's takes on a Tuesday. We had Hudson text in what he thought his prediction for Auburn's record for 2024, and he had them at 8-4. Tyler, how are you feeling about that record there for the Auburn Tigers?
So I had to Google their schedule in the break here, and I don't hate it. I really don't. So, I mean, even if you want to assume they lose some of these more, I'm not going to say obvious games because, teams change year to year. And I don't think any of these, assume they're going to lose to Georgia. We'll be fair. We'll say they're going to lose to Alabama. But outside of that, they got to go 2-2 versus A&M, Kentucky, Missouri, and Oklahoma. I mean, I don't think that's super outlandish. You get Oklahoma in Auburn, and then you get A&M in Auburn. So you're going 2 Kentucky and 2 Missouri, not exactly 2 marquee stadiums.
When are they going to Missouri? Cold time?
October 19th.
October 19th. So the weather should be fine.
Back-to-back weeks, actually, on the road. Actually, that is a tough stretch right there because they start off, they're at the house. They're at the house against Oklahoma on September 28th. Then they go between the hedges, take on Georgia. So then if they could get super beat up, there's
a bye week in there, though, in between Georgia and Missouri.
Oh, okay. All right. You're right about that.
So, I mean, like I said, I don't think going 2-2 against Oklahoma, Missouri, Kentucky, and A&M is super unrealistic. Obviously injuries and, maybe Peyton Thorne plays worse or doesn't develop at all.
Yeah.
Maybe some of those 5-star wide receivers don't pan out, but I don't mind 8-4.
Which team do you think is not the better game, but which team do you think ends up having the better record here in the SEC between Kentucky and Missouri, 2 teams that are kind of going through some changes? Missouri's bringing a lot back, but they did lose, Luther Van Burden?
No, he's coming back. They lost Theo East. They lost their running back Schroeder.
That's who I'm thinking of. That's who I'm thinking of, yeah. Because he was a great running back last year that was not heavily talked about, and I wonder if that's because of, Missouri, SEC, not, the greatest fit, but they've had some of the best success on the eastern side of things since they've been in the division, which is wild because we always, I know I do, just like how I've always looked at Missouri, or every year look at them like, all right, if I see them on Bama's schedule, it's like automatic,
Missouri,
automatic W, which now I think they're a team, and I don't know, will this stay consistent, or is this just what's going on right now? We'll see. It's going to be a lot harder this year in the SEC and every year moving forward with the additions of Texas and Oklahoma.
Times are changing.
Yeah,
but Missouri, Kentucky, which team do you think is going to be better in 24?
Without going through and comparing the schedule, I'd probably say Missouri's probably going to be better because Missouri's returning their quarterback. Kentucky brought over Brock Vandagriff from Georgia, actually, is going to be their new starting quarterback more than likely this year. So you got a first-time starter in the SEC. I don't think it's not like Kentucky's got a significant amount of talent advantage over Missouri, if at all. Mizzou's NIL game, and they've had some of the best in-state NIL laws for a while now as well. So they've actually, been able to snag a few guys. It's funny because Coach Drinkowitz was kind of on the hot seat going into last year. They had a great year, went 10 games, beat Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, I think it was. Whatever bowl, New Year's Six bowl they were in. I think it was the Cotton. It may have been Fiesta. No,
was it Missouri Ohio State?
It was Missouri Ohio State. It was a really boring game. It was like 9-6 or 9-3 or something like that. Ohio State had a ton of offensive opt-outs, but
yeah, that was Cotton Bowl.
Cotton Bowl, okay. And it'll be interesting.
14-3.
14-3, okay.
And Missouri scored those in the fourth.
Yeah, it was a very, very boring game to watch. I had skin in the game. That's the only reason why I even care all that much about it. But it's interesting to see, does he build on that 10-2 or does he drop? Because they were like 6-7, 7-6 type team before last year. And he got a 1-year extension for recruiting purposes. Obviously had a great year last year. Can he build on that? We kind of know what Stoops is. Stoops is going to be 8-4, maybe 9-3 if things go well. Or maybe now with the East-West division not being there anymore, maybe they miss some of the bigger teams in an off year. But I'd probably bet on Missouri, though, mostly with Brady Cook coming back. Luther Burden's going to be a stud. I think he ends up being a top 12 type draft pick. And Missouri would be my bet this far out.
I like that. Also for Kentucky, out of Sneads High School, you got Jason Patterson, who's looking to be RB1 over there at Kentucky. So that's going to be something to keep your eye on. I think what's your belief in Brock Vandergrift, though?
I will say I watched him live in person two spring games in a row, seen him in some mop-up duty. I never felt like he would be the guy at Georgia. Like the little bit I watched him, he doesn't look very. And granted, I'm not a scout, I'm not a coach. My layman's eye over here, but he just is a guy that physically is very impressive. But he's never been a guy that looks comfortable throwing the football. And granted, Kentucky may be more of a kind of power-based scheme. He won't be asked to throw it a ton. Liam Cohn went from Kentucky down to Tampa Bay, so he'll be the Bucs offensive coordinator this year. So maybe they run a more power-heavy quarterback runs where he runs it 12 times a year or 12 times a game and not ask him to do a whole lot throwing the ball, which he could be very successful. He just never looked like a natural thrower of the football. So yeah. If I'm Kentucky, I'm excited. He was a hyped guy. He was recruited by Lincoln Riley for a good while out at Oklahoma back when he was there.
That's something, right?
Yeah. He was actually committed to Oklahoma for at least 6 or 8 months before he ended up flipping to Georgia. They get Caleb Williams, and the rest is, they say is history. But so he does have some of the skill set, and he has been coached at Georgia for a while, which Georgia's been a pretty good program when it comes to developing talent. But if I was a Kentucky fan, I'd want to see it on the field before I get too hyped up.
Yeah, and we'll see. I'm really excited about Jason Patterson over there. We'll see how Brock Vandergrift fits in over there for Kentucky. If I had to make the decision today, which we're making the decision today on Missouri and Kentucky, I think I would opt for Missouri. I feel like that's the safer choice with the quarterback already in place, knows the system, because Brock Vandergrift's going to have to go from what he knows in the Georgia offense to learning what Kentucky and their system is all about. The question that we had from Barrett earlier today, now that the draft is over, what rookie should be the first pick in fantasy drafts?
Man, that's a tough one.
And there's so many good ones because, yes, of course, you've got all your offensive linemen that win in the first round. But there's a lot of wide receivers, and I think that there's guys who are not your Marvin Harrisons, not your Rome Odunzes, that could, by season's end, we're not talking draft here, I'm saying by season's end, because of the offense that they're put in to fit in, could end up having better numbers than some of those guys. But we're talking about the draft.
Now, if you're talking the top tier wide receivers, the big three that everybody was talking about going into the draft, I think Marvin Harrison is the easiest pick out of those three because he's going to the more established quarterback. We don't know what Caleb Williams is going to look like. We know what Danny Dimes is going to look like. And that's not always a great thing for fantasy wide receivers. So I think Marvin Harrison's the easy one there. I've heard some people, I guess there's a type of fantasy league called tight end premium where tight ends get like 1.5 per catch, as opposed to, the standard, just to kind of balance out the tight end ratings compared to some of the higher end wide receivers. I guess.
Yeah, but doesn't that still continue to do the same thing with tight ends, right? Because tight end is such a position that if you get Travis Kelce, if you get one of the top 3 tight ends, that's going to set you apart, or at least in that position, though, it's going to set you apart. So if it's like that and all you're doing for tight end premium is adding 1.5 per reception rather than just your normal point, it's still creating the same which I
think
love
it's more
people
tight
having
end,
custom
tight end
leagues,
value. Like maybe tight end 8's going to be closer to like wide receiver 15 as
Okay,
opposed to like
I'm
wide
with you there.
except
I'm
for-
with you there.
As opposed to tight end 8 being like wide receiver 40. I think it's supposed to kind of not bring tight end 8 to tight end 1, but more just making tight ends a little more value. Obviously,
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Obviously, in that kind of league, Brock Bowers is going to be powerful.
But not with Oakland.
Ben Sinnott is a rookie that went to Washington. Big athletic guy, tested extremely well coming out of Kansas State. He's a guy that a lot of fantasy gurus are pretty high on. If you don't want that name tier guy, Ben Sinnott maybe.
How about Ladd with the Chargers? Is he going to be like the best wide receiver in name until we see him on the field? Is Ladd McConkey going to be the guy for Justin Herbert?
You got Josh Palmer, who's put up some good numbers.
Yeah,
You've
fair.
got Quentin Johnson.
Wide receiver 3, though, essentially.
He's wide receiver. Was a first-round pick last year. These guys have no rapport with the new scheme, new staff. I could see Ladd just being a guy who, especially in a PPR type setting. I mean, if he gets 7 catches a game, 60 yards and a touch, he's a guy I think you're going to see 3 to 4 third down targets a game. You're going to see 2 to 3 red zone, and then even 2 to 3 regular. That's 10 targets a game.
Yeah.
If he connects on 6 of those for 40, 50, 60 yards, you're talking easy, probably like wide receiver 2 downside there. And then, you start becoming touchdown dependent on how high he ranks up. Justin Herbert's proven to be a pretty dang good quarterback. Their defense is having to shed a lot of cap. So if they could get into, and you're playing Patrick Mahomes twice a year, you're going to get into some shootouts there. He may get some volume there. Even when Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh were in there last season in San Francisco together, Colin Kaepernick still had two wide receivers with over 100 targets. Their leading I think Michael Crabtree was their wide receiver 1 that year. He had 130 targets. So it's not like Jim Harbaugh's going to come out there and run the Michigan offense where McCarthy averaged 11 attempts a game. Yeah. It's still Justin Herbert. You're still paying him $50 million a year. You're going to let him throw it 20, 30, 35 times. And there's 270-ish, I think, targets up for grabs off last year's team. Eckler's gone, Mike Williams gone, Keenan Allen's gone. So if he can get 80, 90 of those targets, you may be looking at a guy. I'm not going to say he's going to put up Puka numbers because Puka had but I mean, he could have a very good rookie year for a guy that may not go quite as high in some other fantasy drafts.
There you go, man. So definitely a guy to keep your eye on. Are any of these quarterbacks that were drafted going to be worth a look? Like, do you take a chance on Caleb Williams? I don't think that you can take a chance on Caleb Williams to be your QB1 fantasy football wise, because you got to let the cake bake. But I think there's a lot of people who get, they buy into the hype of these rookie quarterbacks and, hey, I'm drafting Caleb Williams. And then what's even worse, though, is everyone else in the draft room has no care about Caleb Williams, and then they take him in the 3rd round. Like, all right, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that.
League or dynasty league, you might want to look at something like that for down the road, not this season coming up, but maybe 2 or 3 years down the road.
Yeah, that's a fair point. There's some variables to it, but I mean, like in the ESPN league, I wouldn't be worried about. I mean, Caleb Williams maybe as like a late round quarterback 2, high
like
upside.
15.
Jaden Daniels, I think, may have even higher upside this year from a rushing standpoint. Because, I mean, rushing yards count, right? Rushing touchdowns still count.
The rushing touchdowns,
it keeps that floor for those relatively low because they are going to pick up those yards, those scramble yards, if he can stay healthy for 16, 17 games. That's not something I'd be willing to bet on. I would never trust a rookie quarterback as my QB1 in fantasy football. Never.
Caveman Rick, give me a rookie for 2024 that we should be looking at for the fantasy football draft.
That's a tough one. I mean, you guys just went over the wide receivers that are pretty much on the top.
No, but we
list.
picked one, though.
Well,
I haven't picked one yet. He just went with Marvin Harrison.
There's not a lot, though. I mean, you got those, handful of wide receivers that are at the top that, should actually probably do pretty well one way or the other. We've already talked about a couple of the quarterbacks, and then outside of that, there's really nothing left.
This was
running backs didn't get taken early. There's nobody jumping out.
This was a terrible NFL draft for fantasy running backs.
Yeah.
There was no premier running back that really went. I mean, Brooks to Carolina is the best bet, but everybody else is being drafted being a committee this year, and it's not sexy for fantasy football purposes.
But Bijan Robinson was maybe one of the sexiest fantasy football picks of last year, and by the end it lost a lot of attraction.
Well, they thought drafting him 8th overall that he was going to get used like the number 8 overall pick, which. Their number 8 overall pick this year's not going to be either, so it's just Atlanta for you, I guess. But
if they draft him in the 1st round, if the Falcons draft him in the 1st round, prepare to wait at least 2 years to see production there.
Bijan Robinson might be one of those, but I don't like where he went to Oakland. You know, because there's not a wealth of weapons over there. Look who's throwing the ball. It's going to be Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. So because of that, I don't have a lot of faith there. So to be honest with you, it's got to be just one of those top wide receivers like we talked about. Outside of that, I really don't have nobody to throw a dart at. So just because of that, maybe go outside a little bit and say somebody like, I don't know, here you go, Barrett, Keon Coleman. Maybe somebody that's just kind of like on the outside. Not a lot of people are like, they're high on, but not as high as some other people. But maybe where he went, maybe he's going to be like, a major target. Maybe he has a lot of success.
There you go. So I'm struggling between two right now. We do got two text in from Miami. Brett Post. He says Keon Coleman, wide receiver 1, way better situation than even Marvin Harrison Jr. And I do have to agree with that as far as you know what you're getting with Keon Coleman's quarterback out of Josh Allen, whereas, will Kyler Murray be able to sustain his health? How is the connection going to be between him and Harrison? Is Kyler Murray going to be in magician mode, which he's very good at, just kind of scrambling and getting away from things? Is Marvin Harrison going to end up being kind of that decoy wide receiver just because he's got the name, and they end up sharing it with other wide receivers? I think Keon Coleman could be that safe bet, but we'll have to see. That's the one thing, or the biggest thing is when we making our drafts for fantasy football, it's all on speculation. Even when you know what guys you're getting, not the rookies, right? Yeah. It's still speculation. Are they going to be what they were last year? Can they bounce back? Can they get better? All of that good stuff. With Keon Coleman, is he going to be able to adapt to the NFL game? I would say he would be in my top 3 picks of the wide receivers I would go with. Like Marvin Harrison Jr., if he's right there on the board when it's my time to pick, it would be hard not to take Marvin Harrison Jr. just for all of what he's done in college. But if I were to rank my 3, I would go Keon Coleman from the start. Then I would say about middle of the year, Adonai Mitchell is going to take off and be like wide receiver 2 for Anthony Richardson and the Colts. And then my third one would be by the end of the season, which might not even be helpful for us as fantasy footballers. So you would watch out for him for the next year. But I think we're going to see Xavier Worthy be a big part of that Kansas City Chiefs offense. I really do believe that. But you guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Coming up next, we've got Mark Monteith on the line. We're going to be talking a little NBA playoffs.
Mornings on ESPN Northwest Florida just got unsportsmanlike.
There was such an incredible stretch of rom-coms. Where is the How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days of the world? Where is the She's All That? It feels like everything now is just a remake of something else, and it's done poorly.
Well, they did remake She's All That.
I know.
Addison Rae.
I didn't watch it. We didn't need that.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle. Woo! Weekdays 5 to 7 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, partly cloudy and a low of 74 with wind 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the south. Some sun tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and quite warm near 83. Mostly sunny and 83 in the afternoon and evening with a wind coming out of the south around 14 miles per hour. 84 and some clouds with a gentle breeze at 10 miles per hour Thursday. This is your Tuesday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Hello, this is Rick Vossen with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer, located at 2241 East Baldwin Road. Shopping for a garage, portable building, cabin? We build them anywhere from 8 to 16 foot wide, 10 feet to 60 feet long. We can do insulation, electricity, transom dormers, thermal windows. Come, let's customize a building together. Rick Vossen, Stormore Portable Building Dealer, Panama City.
You think you've been on your grind? The 11-year-old cashier at the Gin Gin puts in more hours than you.
Do any of you people do any actual work?
Just saying.
We might need to work on your sales pitch.
Less work and more play.
All right, show's over. Everybody back to work.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Doghouse. This is the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick. This is ESPN Northwest Florida, and we are celebrating our 7-year anniversary on June 26th. But our listeners are the real MVP. You made us the #1 destination for live and local sports talk, high school, college, and NFL football, and the Atlanta Braves. So thank you for helping us reach this milestone. And to celebrate that, we're giving away more tickets to the Atlanta Braves this season than ever before. So keep listening for details from ESPN Northwest Florida. Now we're going to talk a little NBA playoffs and a little bit more specifically with the Indiana Pacers. If you guys have any questions for our next guest, Mark Monteith, text him in 850-215-6290. Mark is a freelance writer, editor, and author, and you can check out his website, markmonteith.com. It is a $20 lifetime subscription fee right there. So $20 once and done, and then you get his content for the rest of your life, and there is great content there. And he's also the author of a few books. He wrote The Passion Play on Purdue, Reborn, which is on the Pacers, and Extra Innings on the Indianapolis Indians. He also edited a book on the Indy 500 champion Bill Vukovich. Mark, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Good to be with you guys.
Great to have you back on with us. The Pacers and the Knicks got underway last night. The Knicks take game 1. Which call in that game there at the end was more egregious to you? Was it the screen on Turner, which some people said he might have been moving his feet a little bit, or the kickball violation on Aaron Nesmith?
Oh, I think the kickball, that was the one that was clearly wrong, not even debatable. And not only was it the wrong call, but, the Pacers should have had a fast break if that call had not been made. Nesmith hit the ball with his hand. It's a loose ball. The Pacers pick it up, and then the whistle blows. If not for that whistle, they probably get a layup or an open shot at the other end. So I thought that was the biggest call of the game. I see by the NBA's 2-minute report that they agreed with the referees that the screen on Turner was called correctly. And I agree with that, but it just seems strange to me that it was made in that part of the game. Now, I'm not really a believer that you call the game differently at the end of the game than you do earlier in the game, but those, moving screens are basically a given now in the NBA, and they hadn't made that call for 47 minutes, and suddenly they make it right there. So that was my problem with it. But I do think it was probably a moving screen. But, the biggest one to me was the one on Nesmith with the kickball.
Why do you think that kickball violations aren't reviewable? That's one to me that, yes, when you see it on the floor, it feels like it should be cut and dry. But if there's even a question about it, why aren't we reviewing these things? We already have 1,000,001 reviews a game at this point, so why not add in the kickball violations to that? Do you think that'll be on the table for next year?
I do. I think this game probably will bring that to the forefront, and they'll reconsider that. I don't know. It's hard to understand how they pick which calls can be reviewed and which can't. I don't see why a kickball, would not be reviewable. So I think that will be discussed over the summer. I don't know. You know what? If it were up to me, I would say don't review any calls except perhaps in the final 2 minutes of the game. I just think there are so many interruptions. I think it's annoying to fans. I think we have to hope that whatever missed calls there are even out over the course of a game and no team gets a real advantage. I am okay with reviewing calls, I think, in the last couple minutes of the game, but I just hate all the interruptions to games these days.
Yeah, I am right there with you, and I'm sure that the majority of the fans of the game would like to see a lot less reviews. I mean, I would go so far as to say each team gets, 1 or 2 challenges outside of the 2 minutes, and then inside of 2 minutes of each half. Then, if it needs to go to review, it can go to review at that point in time. But like Rasheed Wallace, maybe we just need to rely on the ball don't lie a little bit more. Are you concerned, Mark, about about Tyrese Halliburton's 6-point game last night and having 0 points in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I wonder if he's healthy. He's had some back issues, back spasms, and there were a couple of games in the Milwaukee series when he was on the injury report as questionable, and then he played, and he didn't really look good to me last night. I don't mind him taking fewer shots because the Pacers have a well-balanced offense. They need to get Siakam the ball. The bench was doing a great job of scoring. So I'm more concerned with Halliburton's assist numbers than I am his scoring numbers. But last night, boy, he was basically a no-show in the fourth quarter, and that's not like him. He's been a good clutch player for the Pacers throughout the season. So it's not like he couldn't handle the moment, in my opinion. It just seemed like there was something wrong physically. They have said nothing about that today, but we'll see what the case is tomorrow. That's a concern. I mean, he's their all-star. He obviously needs to come up big in these situations. And I really question, maybe my biggest criticism of the game last night for the Pacers was, why didn't T.J. McConnell play more? He was outstanding, and he was even doing the best job of anyone defending Brunson. Brunson only scored a couple of baskets against McConnell's defense. So, to me, McConnell should have played a lot more than 22 minutes. He didn't play as long as he usually does in that third, fourth quarter stretch. And given how he was playing and how Halliburton was struggling, I did not understand McConnell not getting more minutes. So, there's always something to question when you lose a close game, but that was one that jumped out to me during the game.
Yeah, that's an interesting one right there with T.J. McConnell and the playoffs that he's had to this point, and just the way he was drafted out of Philadelphia and or to Philadelphia and being a part of that process. And now what's he been with Indiana now for 5 years, I think, and finally starting to get a little shine there as well. So you kind of answered my next question a little bit. How should the Pacers go about slowing down Jalen Brunson? 4 straight games with 40 points now.
Yeah, obviously it's not easy. You know what's really, I'm sure, painful for Pacer fans is that he worked out for the Pacers before the draft. And I've got a picture on my phone of him in a Pacer T-shirt. And the problem is, of course, every other team in the league passed him up too. He was a second-round draft pick at Dallas. But I was there when he had a workout for the Pacers, but it was an individual workout. He was not able to come in on a Sunday when they had a bunch of guys in and scrimmaged and played half court and everything. He came in by himself the next day. Well, what can you show in an individual workout? You can shoot around, but they know what kind of shooter you are anyway. Mm-hmm. It's a shame he couldn't have been there a day earlier. Maybe they would have had a better look at him and a different opinion of him, because they drafted Aaron Holiday ahead of him. And Holiday, although still in the league, is not nearly the player Jalen Brunson is. So that was a shame, but every team in the league can agonize over passing on Jalen Brunson. But what to do about him, I don't know. I think keep a fresh defender on him is about the best you can do and not go for shot fakes. Maybe play off of him a bit at first and see how the jumper's going. Hope that it's not, but if it is, you got to get up on him. Double team him on occasion when you can. You got to look for opportunities to double team him. To me, defending Brunson is quite a bit like how you defended Allen Iverson back in the day. They both have the ball in their hands a lot. They can create. They can shoot. They're going to penetrate and dish. And the Pacers had pretty good success against Iverson when they played Philly in the playoffs back in the Larry Bird era by keeping a fresh defender on him and giving him different looks. They'd run 2 or 3 different guys at Iverson. So the Pacers have a couple of good defenders in Nesmith and Nembhard, and I would add McConnell to that list. And they're the rookie, whose name is escaping me at the moment. So they have guys they can run at him. But you're going to have to give up points. I mean, the fact, he's getting, like you say, 40 points against everybody. You may have to concede something there and just try to keep everybody else in check. Really what the Pacers have to do is a better job of rebounding and not give them second shots. A lot of Brunson's points came on second shots, and the Pacers only seem to rebound as well as they absolutely have to and give them any kind of a comfortable lead like they had in the fourth quarter last night, a 7 or 8 point lead early in the fourth. They're going to let up. And they give up second shots, and New York certainly took advantage of that last night. So to me, it's about running different defenders at him, double team him when the opportunity is there if you don't give up a layup, and then you got to do a better job of rebounding.
Is it Ben Shepherd or Jarris Walker, the rookie?
Shepherd, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. He's having a good year as a rookie. Walker was the lottery pick, and he hardly gets any minutes, and I really like him. But he's just stuck behind Siakam and some of the other front line guys. I think he's going to be a good player. But Shepherd has been really solid. He's a good defender. He's a good three-point shooter. He hit his first 2 3-pointers last night. He wasn't afraid of the moment. So there's 4 guys who are credible perimeter defenders you could put on Brunson. Man, keep a fresh one on him at all times and double team when you can.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line with Mark Monteith. Is the Pacers' depth deep enough to get past this round and into the conference finals? And let's say that they were taking on Boston. Do you think that it's a real possibility, as far as chance goes, that the Pacers could take down the Boston Celtics?
I think they can get to the finals. I think they showed last night. They should have drawn confidence from last night that they can beat the Knicks. I mean, they didn't play well the last 2-3 minutes of the game, and they had a couple calls to go against them that were crucial. So they, rather than being upset about that, they should, at this point, just take confidence from it and think that they can beat the Knicks. They win tomorrow night, you can forget about Monday's game. So I do think they can eliminate the Knicks in this series, although it's likely to go 6 or 7 games. Boston, to me, is a different story. They're the best team in the East, probably the best team in the league, although Minnesota's looking awfully good. And I don't think the Pacers have the overall talent or experience to deal with the Celtics this season. The Pacers, to me, kind of are ahead of themselves a bit. They had not been in the playoffs since 2000, and they had first-round playoff exits for 5 years going into their recent drought. So usually when a team has been out of the playoffs that long, they don't jump back in and get to the second round. They kind of take baby steps, get to the first round, maybe lose in the first round a couple of years, and then advance. But this Pacer team, they were lucky that Milwaukee had Antetokounmpo's injury, and they were able to get by Milwaukee. But they're looking good overall, and I do think they can get past the Knicks, with a couple of breaks. But I do not think they can contend with Boston in the conference finals.
Well, we will see about that. I'm right there with you. I think Boston is headed for the NBA Finals, but we've seen them slip up in the Eastern Conference Finals a time or two before. A couple of game ones going on tonight. We've got those Boston Celtics taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then OKC and Dallas get underway later on this evening at 8:30. Which of those series provides more intrigue for you?
I don't know. To me, the best series is, I would have said yesterday that would be Denver and Minnesota. Now that Minnesota's up 2-0 on the road, they are in command of that series. And the second best series to me is actually Pacers-Knicks. I think it's going to be a evenly played series throughout. There's always drama with the Pacers and Knicks get together. I don't see Cleveland and Boston being that competitive, really. Cleveland just struggled to get by Orlando, and I don't see that as being too big of a problem. Who else are we talking about here?
Dallas, OKC.
Oh, Oklahoma City and Dallas. Yeah, that'll be a good series. I like OKC Dallas. I think that's going to be an entertaining one. A lot of scoring. Any series with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving is going to be fun to watch. And OKC is a really good young team that is emerging. I guess they have emerged. That's the number 1 seed actually out west. So I guess OKC Dallas of the games, coming up will be the most interesting to me.
Do you foresee Minnesota holding on to close out this series, or Denver coming back and maybe taking it to a Game 6 or a Game 7 and moving on to the Western Conference Finals?
I think Minnesota's in command. You went on the road like they have. I think they're in great shape, and they just look for real. They've got some real talent there. They've got, some superstars there, and I think they're in command. And I'm really amazed by that because as the defending champion, I expected more from Denver, not just to lose, but to get blown out like they did on their home court last night after they had lost Game 1. I mean, they should have been in panic mode last night, being down 1-0 in their home court, and they got drilled. So I think they're in real trouble. Minnesota is for real, and if I had to make a prediction right now, I'm saying the finals are Minnesota and Boston.
That would be a fun series. Boston's been working on this for a stretch now, and Minnesota, Anthony Edwards, I don't know if they'll have Rudy Gobert back by that time, but this just in, he did win Defensive Player of the Year, becoming the third player in NBA history to clinch that trophy 4 times. Are you surprised that Gobert won it over Wembanyama?
Not really. I think, Wembanyama got Rookie of the Year. And I think the awards, I think a lot of voters have a hard time giving a rookie, especially 2 different awards. And, Gobert is much better known. I didn't see either of them play, enough to have an opinion on who deserved it, but I'm not surprised by it. Gobert has a reputation, well earned, throughout his history in the league. And, I think voters feel like, Wembanyama is going to get plenty of awards in his career. He's off to a great start.
He might be the 4th player to win the Defensive Player of the Year award 4 times. Mark, we thank you so much for giving us some of your time. As always, it was great insight on the Indiana Pacers and the NBA, and we look forward to chatting with you in the future.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that's Mark Monteith. Y'all, make sure to go over to his website, markmonteith.com, especially if you're from that Indiana area. Great stuff. And if you ever follow the Indianapolis Indians, the Pacers at anytime, Indiana University and the Hoosiers there, great content on markmonteith.com. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida, your home for the Atlanta Braves. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida, the Paul Feinbaum Show.
Good afternoon to Coach Sam Pittman. Is this the first time you've been to the actual race?
When I was assistant in Tennessee in 2012, we went up there, but my seats were right by the outdoor porta potties, and this year the seats are going to be a little bit better, I think.
Paul Feinbaum, weeknights, 6 to 10 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. We invite you to stop by Bill Bird Kia today and test drive a new 2024 Kia. You'll see why everyone is talking about Kia. The 2024 Kia will give you the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. The SUV family has movement that inspires. Drive away today in a new 2024 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, or Telluride. Fuel the thrill and command the road in a luxury sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Drive away today in a new 2024 Kia K5. Performance, power, and design built just for you. Discover the new Kia at Bill Bird Kia. Bill Bird Kia, the original home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you just like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust. Your local community dealer is Bill Bird Kia.
The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty.
The 2024 Atlanta Braves are on a mission to bring home a 7th straight NL East title and head back to the Fall Classic.
Harris will leap, and he got it! He caught the ball!
Tonight, the Braves are back in town for a short 2-game set as they take on the Boston Red Sox live from Truist Park in Atlanta.
Coverage starts tonight at 6 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast, ESPN Northwest Florida.
He listens to Post Malone. He drives a Honda with ground effects and has Pennsylvania tattooed on his right tricep.
Looking at a bad man.
David Hayes is part of the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We're back in the doghouse. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. And we're the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Caveman Rick and Tyler Bishop, and this is your home for the Atlanta Braves. And for 7 years, ESPN Northwest Florida has been your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. The Atlanta Braves on ESPN Northwest Florida, sponsored by Brock's Pest Control, Store More, Portable Buildings, Bill Bird Kia, Mid-South Lumber, and by PCB Hobby. Tonight in our area for the regional semifinals, Port St. Joe is 19-6. They travel to 18-8 Cottondale. That game starts tonight at 6:30, and the winner of that game will play the winner of 16-9 Chipley, taking on Bozeman. Bozeman is hosting Chipley there. Bozeman 24-3 on the season, and that game will be first pitch for that game will be at 7 p.m. You've got Paxton in the same bracket. They're 11-9, traveling to 21-3 Central, and that game is set for 7 p.m. And then the final game from, I believe this is 1A here, J 15-10. They're traveling to Holmes County, who is 16-9, and that game is slated for 7 p.m. The winner of that game will play the winner of Paxton and Central. Now, I need to get back over there to softball real quick to check out the other game that when I printed this earlier, it just all got all discombobulated there. I almost said combobulated. South Walton 9-10. They are traveling to 23-3. Arnold and the Marlins hosting tonight at 7 p.m. And then Mariana is 16-8. They're traveling to North Bay Haven Academy. The Buccaneers are 20-5, and that game also starting tonight at 7 p.m. So a lot of games to choose from tonight. Make sure you go out and support these young athletes, and they're here, man, in the playoffs, regional semifinals for baseball. I believe it's the semifinals as well for the Marlins and for the Buccaneers. Arnold is in 4A, North Bay Haven in 3A. So it's the quarterfinals actually for Arnold. Quarterfinals for Arnold and for North Bay Haven. If I can navigate this fast enough and kill the dead air just by talking some nonsense, I'll let you guys know what it is. Also, the regional quarterfinal. The semifinals will be next week, May 14th. All right, let's go back to our 5 o'clock segment. Is there anything? Actually, yes, I know exactly where we're going to go. Deion Sanders, Colorado Buffaloes, the transfer portal. Just, I believe last month there was an article pinned up by Max Olson on The Athletic that was detailing it. This could have also been from last year, but I think it was from this year. The article that is tracing the journey from the guys who were let go from Colorado and where they went, what they ended up kind of doing. I believe only 9 of the what was it, 45 players that they let go last year or whatever, ended up making it to other Power 5 schools. So there is kind of that grain of salt, but you're also at Colorado, so that at that point in time, Colorado wasn't the name that it is now, but their record was just 4 times better than what it was the year prior, which isn't very hard when they didn't win a game the year before Deion came, right? Or was it 2-1?
I think they were 1-11.
Okay, all right, so yeah, 4 times still. But is the drama that's unfolding with Deion, Coach Prime, and the Buffaloes, does it make you want to watch them more, or are you starting to become tired of it?
I'll say personally, I'm probably a bad person to ask because I was over Deion before he kicked off last year.
Yeah.
I will say I think the media persona they put out there with Shador's response to some of these kids transferring, like he put out a tweet, something like, I don't even remember this kid transferring. He must have been mid AF or whatever. I don't know. It was some tweet like that. Or it must have been real mid or something. Like, I mean, he was just like, I don't even remember this guy playing for us. He had to have been that bad. Like,
oh, real quick. Sorry to interrupt you. The softball games are tomorrow night. Thank you, Coach Olds, for that text. Tomorrow night and Friday as well. So yeah, no softball tonight. It's baseball tonight. Go support Bozeman. Go support the other schools here. We got Holmes County there, but definitely go support Bozeman. They are the closest here to our listening area, and the Bucks playing some great baseball. Back to Deion. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, like him putting out stuff like that it's not a great look for a guy who's supposed to be the leader of the team. Mm-hmm. Obviously being the coach's son is not a great look. Deion bringing in like 6 or 7 high school recruits this past signing class, not a great look. It doesn't look like he's building a foundation.
Yeah. So you're saying there should have been more like 12 to 13 high school recruits.
Minimum.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're Deion and you really plan on being at Colorado and building it up, which I don't think he does or is.
Do you think that it's you continue on and then I'll ask the question.
Bringing 7 high school kids means you are once again going to have to bring in 30 plus portal entries next year after the season. And it's not a very sustainable method of bringing in guys. And it's not like the guys, they had a good start of the season, but after that, they really faded down the stretch. You're never going to build depth through the portal.
The transfer portal should be to plug in what you don't have, not to just, all right, we don't have nothing, so we're just going to fix it with the transfer portal.
In my opinion, it should be a red flag if your school is bringing in 15 to 18 plus transfer guys every year. especially if your coach has been around. I mean, obviously Deion's only in his second year, but I think if bringing in, and the thing is, he does it to himself. He hasn't done in-home visits. He's not really putting in the effort it takes to recruit at a high level, which is fine, but it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. What are you doing?
I think transfer portal is the same as like free agency in NFL, whereas like, drafting a player is the same as recruiting them. You want to develop the player, use your free agents market to just fill a couple holes that you have on your team that you weren't able to develop.
I think that's ideally the way it should work. I mean, you obviously the other end of the spectrum in Dabo Swinney, he's caught flack for not using it at all and hasn't used it again this year. Once again, 13 guys left. He didn't bring anybody in.
I think he brought one guy in.
I think he's only brought in like, I think they did bring in like an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And then one of the only other transfers they brought in was a quarterback who transferred out of Clemson, then transferred back in.
So is that even? Do you even consider that? Well, they're going to say, they'll be talking about Caden Proctor at Alabama and the Iowa situation all year long.
But this was he actually played he was gone for at least a full season, so it's not quite the same. But it's just like. Deion is I don't know. I feel like he's going to end up wearing out his welcome. I'm interested to see what his plans are post Shedeur and Travis Hunter and Shiloh being there, because I think all three will be gone this year. And does he really plan on being there in the long term? Because it doesn't seem like he's trying to build a foundation for long-term success.
That's what my next question was going to be, but I decided we'd continue on with the discussion and then go to, is Deion just doing this for the sake of Shedeur Sanders, maybe Shiloh? We'll see if the talent, rises up, and for Travis Hunter, or maybe was it, Travis Hunter was like the centerpiece, and it's like, well, I can get Shedeur and Shiloh to the league with that. Or do you think that he's, really interested in being a coach and creating a generation of well-respected young men?
I think he could have gotten Shedeur probably a Colorado level program in the transfer portal just by being who he is, his connections. And I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm not saying he's not worthy of being a Power 5 quarterback. I don't mean that. But I think he could have done it without putting himself in that spot. Maybe he just likes to be in the spotlight because it is prime time, right? This is his, who he's been his entire career. But it's just, I'm just is he in college? I'd be interested to see what the majority of people thought that know him if he's at Colorado a year from now.
Do you think he will be?
I don't think so.
I think he follows his kids into the NFL.
Well, again, this means nothing in the long term, but he said that he doesn't want to coach in the NFL. Means nothing. Yeah. Just we got to take it at face value.
He wanted to be over at Jackson State, forever.
Nick Saban didn't want to coach the Tide. It is what it is.
Exactly. And in defense of Deion with making the move to Buffalo is. He took Jackson State from where they were. It doesn't, to me, I don't care what he did. And I know there's all you don't care about the HBCUs, like them saying that to Deion and stuff. Like, no, he took Jackson State and all of the other HBCUs to a whole nother dimension than they've ever been at before. I don't know the entire history, so I can't say ever.
Recent history.
Exactly. But as far as I've been alive, I could not tell you much about Jackson State. I was going to say Jackson State and some of the other universities until Deion got over there and started making waves. So he took them to a new plane, and I think that he was going to use that same ideology and take it over to Colorado and say, hey, look, they won one game the year before I got here, and now look where they're at. And then maybe that springboards him to another level. However, when I think about it a little bit deeper, the act of getting your kids to the NFL when they're not getting a whole lot of love where they're at, I think he could have gotten a job at a lot of other places that would have been looked at a little bit better rather than Colorado. But who's the number one quarterback going into 2025's draft? Right now, without a game being played in 2024, it's Shedeur Sanders, ain't it?
Depends on where you're looking.
Depends on where you're looking. Consensusly, I would say that Shedeur's up there, but then what's the next closest one is what? Is it even
Carson Beck?
Yeah, that's who I was thinking it was, but we got to see another year from Carson Beck as well. And I think that Carson Beck is in a better situation to succeed, statistically speaking.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I think Deion was really in his niche at a HBCU. Mm-hmm. I don't mean this in any diss. I just don't think he's the grinder that a Kirby Smart and Nick Saban, those guys who are going to put in 80 hours a day.
Yeah.
He's not taking visits. He's not recruiting kids the way you see some of these other schools. And I think being at HBCU, who he was from his personality, and he could mentor.
That sold itself.
It sold itself. He got the transfers from the guys who got kicked out of Georgia or Michigan State or whoever. They wanted to go play for Dion at that point. He didn't have to work quite as hard. He could actually mentor kids maybe the way he wants. I don't think he really realized or maybe overestimated or underestimated how the power or the time and effort it takes to be a quality Power 5 head coach.
Yeah.
I think he was great at where he was. He was bringing notoriety to HBCUs. We were seeing them on ESPN and ESPN2 for probably the first time in a while. We were talking about him for probably the first time in a while. And it was a great spot for him. And I'm not doubting why he went to Colorado. Maybe it was his kids. Maybe he thought he could do it. I just think he would be so much better in that role where he could mentor kids, not have to put in 80 hours a day for, and
80 hours a day.
80 hours a day.
It feels like that to them.
I guarantee you it has to, especially in the season. I think he had a great opportunity. Maybe he didn't feel appreciated. And I know there was a lot of other stuff into it, but I really think that was his niche. That's where he needed to be. We'll see where he is 12 months from now. I'm not convinced it's Colorado.
The HBCU has I'll say a few head coaches over there that are, notable NFL players. Yeah. They just don't carry the same weight as what Deion Sanders does. I mean, Eddie George is over there with Tennessee State. You had Ed Reed, who was going to be with Bethune-Cookman, but that didn't work out because of, I guess, their differences in how the place should be kept up, the respect you should have for your stuff. So that didn't work out, which I would love to see Ed Reed, some of these big time names and just continue to see that. But Deion took it to a whole nother level. So regardless if he should still be there or any of that, he still took them to a whole nother level, and there should be some appreciation shown for that. So for you, Caveman Rick, when you're hearing about some of this Colorado stuff, does it intrigue you to watch them more, or is it like, I'm kind of tired of this?
I'm over it now. I mean, if they start winning and they start showing stuff on the field, then hey, it's good to watch. It's a good story. But if it's just getting attention because of Deion, then yeah, it's tiresome.
I was buying into it so much. Like I was sitting here last year saying, hey, they're going to win 8 games. They're going to a bowl game. And then they start off with a bang, beating TCU.
4-0, I believe, right?
Yeah, 4-0. It started off with a great win over TCU and one of the better games of the year. And, just fizzled out there. And now I'm at the point where it's like, dude, you no matter what the excuse, no matter what the reasoning is, you only ended up winning 4 games. So maybe, and this isn't maybe it's just not Coach Prime's persona or whatever, but maybe tone it down a little bit, back off of it a little bit. Go to a bowl game and then you can reinvigorate that. So for me, I'm not buying out of it. I'm not over it yet, but I'm not as bought into it as what I once was. And if they're having a subpar season or another 4-win season, I'm not going to buy into it again next year.
At 4-8.
Exactly. No, you're not.
Anymore.
You are what your record says you are.
Exactly.
You're halftime at that point in time. Hey, we are out of the building. You guys have a great day. Coach James Hill Show is going to be live at 7 in the morning. Then the Inside Drive back at 11. Afternoon Underdogs back at 4 tomorrow. Y'all have a great day. Be safe out there. And remember, Jesus loves you. So do I.
It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, partly cloudy.